Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello everybody, welcome to Weatherghost Live. Here I'm testing the audio just now. 3 people's watching. Damn. Yeah. I'm here to talk about obviously Typhoon Kome, who's now a Category 1 typhoon, I believe. That's what the latest estimates from different agencies and what it looks on the satellite is currently saying. So, obviously this is a dangerous tropical cyclone because it's still intensifying at this moment. Could be a bit more stronger before it makes landfall, probably a winds of up to 80 miles per hour, perhaps. The Philippines Meteorological Agency, which is the PCASA, has already issued a typhoon warning number 4 for the western part of Luzon, especially the ones around the coastline, which is the closest to Kome, obviously. We will get into that later. And here's what looks on the satellite. Currently, it is a pretty structured tropical cyclone indeed. Very good structure around the center. And on the IR satellite, you can just see around the center still so many convection blowing up there. Here and there, some of the strongest convection already touching the tip of western Luzon. Some real bad conditions going to happening there. The outer flow is still quite good, really. But you can see just as soon as the convection went into land, you see they immediately gets crumbled by the high mountainous terrain that is situated in the northern part of the Luzon Peninsula, Luzon landmass. And here's the wind radius. As you can see, just that hurricane enforcement begin to move into the western tip of Luzon, and the tropical enforcement actually stretches a bit more far to the south. Obviously, you can see the southern side of the system has more tropical enforcement. The hurricane enforcement wind radius mostly stretch towards the southeast. Let's go back. Mainly stretch towards the southeastern side of the storm. So it's going to start moving in. I think this graph is probably not as updated, but it's just about to reflect what's happening right now. And you can look at the location right now. You can see just located off the coast of Luzon. 16.1 degrees north, 119.5 degrees east, possibly 80 miles per hour already. 974 millibars or HPA. Moving northeast at 6 kilometers per hour. Pretty slow, so it might still take a few hours before landfall, as I mentioned earlier. So that's pretty bad as well. So the bad condition is going to continue for a bit longer. This is what the European model is expecting of the system. It's going to move inland now in the next couple of hours and then get absolutely humiliated by the high Luzon mountainous terrain, and then it's going to continue to weaken, and then eventually it will probably become a remnant or just basically unrecognizable as a tropical cyclone anymore. So it's going to be a pretty short-lived system after it makes landfall. It's pretty obvious because of the high mountainous terrain. And here's the GFS. It's not really much to talk about. The positioning of the system is a bit off in this model. It should be around here really, but the GFS just not really accurate when it comes to positioning right now. But still, a pretty similar forecast, just going to move inland and then it's going to dissipate over the north and towards the north of Philippines. The strike probability here is a big chance of hitting western part of Luzon. It's pretty much undoubtful now. And then it will move across land. And then to the tropical storm force wind, a pretty big area with high chance actually. Mainly to south and more to the southern part of Luzon, mainly to the west. Then it will pretty much be gone. And here's the Western Pacific. You can see just how much of the system is active at the moment. Apart from Kome, there's still Tropical Storm Francisco and Tropical Depression Crosa, who has formed this earlier today. Obviously, Kome is the strongest out of the bunch. Francisco is a mid-range tropical storm. It's going to start weakening pretty soon, I believe. You can see it is affecting the, I think it's the Ryukyu Island, I think. Okinawa, area around Okinawa. And then you also got Kuroso, who's affecting Guam and the North Mariana Island right now. Then here's the latest Pegasa warning. As you can see, signal number 4 is currently issued to the western part of Luzon. And then signal number 3 is pretty similar, just a bit larger area, and the signal number 2 is pretty much in effect stretching to the northern tip of the storm. And the signal number 1 is basically the rest of Luzon pretty much. So the whole of Luzon is under alerts, but mostly is under alerts in the La Union region, Los Sur, and then the Pegasian. I think it's the it's an area named. Let me see that again. It's an area named Pegasinan, the western part of Pegasinan. See that tip here. That's where the strongest storm is probably going to occur because obviously some storm surge as well. Don't forget because of it being pretty much as a peninsula landscape. And we also got in the Atlantic Ocean an area of disturbance with 10% chance of developing in the next 48 hours and 7 days. Not much expected from it apart from some strong rain showers probably occurring over the Gulf Coast in the next couple of days, stretching from Alabama to Texas. So we are mainly going to be focusing on Typhoon Kome today. So keep an eye on this system really. So obviously we also have this live stream is going to go on hopefully until it makes landfall. So just to make sure everything gets wrapped up. This live stream is going to go in the next couple of hours. It will be the most probably the most threatening time for people in the path of this live stream is going to go in the next couple of hours. It will be the most probably the most threatening really close to the center of the people in the path of this live stream is going to go in the next couple of hours. After moving inland, it will rapidly weaken. So really close to the center of the people in the path of will probably be less about the wind, but more about the strong rainfall that's going to rapidly weaken. With its really close to the center of the people in the path. You can see probably less about the wind, hurricane force, the strong rainfall that's going to actually very small because this storm is a relatively small system. The hurricane the strong rainfall is mainly concentrated around the center because it's much smaller. This storm is a relatively small system, but its hurricane about I think it's mainly concentrated around definitely more because it's much smaller. This storm is a relatively small system, but its hurricane about I think it's mainly concentrated around definitely more because it's much smaller. This storm. Yeah, I mean, the system is going to bring some threats. Let's take a look at the latest Pegasa advisory on tropical cyclone Kome. So significant to severe impacts from typhoon force wind, which is hurricane force wind, are possible within any localities where wind signal number 4 is hoisted. Now, that means it's going to be quite disruptive. You know, signal number 4 is just one level below signal number 5, which makes it the second highest signal the Pegasa can issue to an area. This storm surge outlook also not looking really good for the western part of Luzon, up to 14 meters. Yeah, this is the wave height, not exactly the storm surge height. The coastal water, the wave height is going to be up to 14 meters to the western seaboards of Ilocos, La Union, and Pangasinan, which is the areas where signal number 4 is hoisted. Up to 8 meters for western seaboard of Zambales and the remaining seaboard of Pangasinan. Up to 6 meters for the western seaboard of Bataan, and up to 4.5 for Batangas, Lubang Island, Occidental Mindoro, and the eastern seaboards of mainland Cagayan and Isabela. They are advising any sea travel is risky, so all mariners should remain in port, or if underway, seek shelter or safe harbor as soon as possible until the winds and waves subside. And the Pegasa is currently believing the center of the storm is around 60.1 degrees north, 119.6 degrees east. They still believe the maximum sustained wind is around 120 kilometers per hour, which you could say is a conservative approach or just an underestimation, because currently we're believing it's around 85 miles per hour. 80 miles per hour, which is a bit higher than 120 kilometers per hour. Yeah, we believe it's around 125, a bit higher than that, 5 more kilometers per hour. So let's take a look at the latest on the JTWZ forecast on Kome. So the JTWZ has gone with an estimation of around 65 knots for the storm, 65 knots which is around 120 kilometers per hour. That's borderline category 1 typhoon. they're giving the wind field pretty much similar to what we have shown before. The biggest part of the tropical storm force wind concentrated on the southern side, and the hurricane force wind and storm force wind is pretty much smaller than the tropical storm force wind. Hurricane force wind just about touching the tip of western Luzon now, and the JTW is expecting a gradual weakening speed, not as fast as some computer models or meteorological agency expecting. By 00Z on the 25th, which is tomorrow, could still have 50 knots of wind, which is mid to high range tropical storm, and then it will move into the Western Pacific Ocean, which is area around Taiwan and the Ryukyu Island. Then it will continue to weaken, and then by the 26th, it will pretty much be a tropical depression or a low pressure area. And the track's pretty much decided now. It's going to move east, going across from southwest to northeast across the northern tip of Luzon tomorrow. And then it will pretty much be gone by afternoon on the 25th UTC time. So it will start picking up speed by the time it makes landfall. And it will be damaged by the high mountainous terrain, which is why it's going to weaken so quickly. It's a shame we haven't got a radar image of the western coast of Luzon because of the technological difficulty, which is a shame, because it will be harder to estimate what really is going on right now. But we will continue to monitor this system. So, obviously, we also have other systems apart from Typhoon Komei. Tropical Storm Francisco is active and is just past the Okinawa Island, I think. Still currently affecting it. Let me open some screen share here. Just a minute, guys. Yeah, so Tropical Storm Francisco, a mid-range tropical storm affecting the Okinawa Island and partially affecting northern Taiwan. And so here it is, looking at all this information. You can see it's a very, very big system in general. The tropical storm force wind stretches over pretty much the entirety of the Ryukyu Island. Obviously, Okinawa is probably where tropical storm force wind is mainly affecting right now, so that would be feeling quite a bit there. And you can see on the radar, it's pretty disorganized to say the least. The main rain band is on the outside of the system, but the center of the storm is not really around. It's probably around here, but that's where the stronger convection is. And it's expected to weaken after like 12 to 24 hours because of poor condition of head of itself. Not much can be said about it. Just some force wind, possibly some rainfall. That's gonna cause some slight flooding in some case, but nothing too crazy. In terms of Caroso, it's even more ridiculous. Look at how it looks here. Absolute mess. nothing going on, not any circulation, because I think it's because of the wind shear. It's currently up to 30 knots in some places around Croesus, so it's absolutely not great. And partially it's because the big convection of Francisco is letting out some real strong wind shear, as making it harder for Croesus to really develop any circulation around the centre. So at the moment, it's still just a bunch of strong convection trying to make something out of itself. So hence why we have kept it as a tropical depression for now. But it is bringing some rainfall to the Mariana Island and Guam. I mean, look at all of these wall of rain just covering that area. You can just about see where the low level circulation is. Things around here. And the high cloud top is really struggling to cover it because of just how big the wind shear is. So, in addition, we can also access the JTWC forecast on Francisco. As you can see, this is what it looks like right now, expecting it to maintain tropical storm till around, well, really midnight tonight and early tomorrow, and then it will become a tropical depression. Before it even reaches eastern coast of China, it will really dissipate already, so that's very good news. And hopefully that does happen, because we don't want any like strong rainfall or strong winds around that region. Other than that, nothing really special around the system. Here's what GTWC expecting of Kurosa. Bit more optimal about this system. 60 knots could be his peak. So I think that's around high-end tropical storm. Could approach, really isn't really going to affect any land in this forecast. Going to keep itself off any territory. And then the main, you can see just how JTW is still expecting the main wind field to be concentrated to the southern side of the system because of the wind shear. But around, I think 2 to 3 days later, it will begin fixing up, the wind field begins balancing out. But around 4 to 5 days later, again, it's going to be unbalanced because of more poor condition ahead of itself. And we can next look at the wind shear of Western Pacific Ocean. So 40 knots around where Kurosa is, which is pretty bad for the storm. We currently estimating its developmental intensification potential index is pretty low. It's around 4.5, mainly because of the wind shear. And for Francisco, it's around 5.5, which is medium. It's going to maintain its intensity. Corrosus index could get higher in the next couple of days if the wind shear decrease, but it's probably going to underperform in the next couple of days. In terms of Kome, still have a 7.5 index, our latest estimate. Still could intensify before landfall, so it's not good at all for the Philippines if that's to occur. We're currently at 6 subscribers, so I've gained 1 more subscribers today. That makes me really happy. As a starter YouTuber, it's easy to gain subscribers. We've been live for 30 minutes already, and which is not bad at all. So Yeah, the EZMWF is really expecting it to move into Luzon and then really just dissipate very soon. Not much can be said about it. And if we look at the GFS, let's zoom out a bit on GFS. Let's see what it's expecting from the other systems. Obviously, we have Francisco probably going to dissipate over that area near the eastern coast of China. Could still maintain some tropicality, but by the time it gets to Saturday, it will completely disappear. And then you can see Carosa there, really making itself a name. Probably going to reach typhoon status according to this expectation. Let's go back, and then they will probably move towards the eastern side, and then another system could develop here. Not sure what that's about, but Western Pacific is going to expect to remain pretty active, even after these three systems. So definitely a pretty active season this year for the Western Pacific. If we look on the Atlantic Ocean, here you can see with GFS not expecting that tropical wave to develop into anything. And except from that, if you look a bit further away, you can see nothing really is going to happen in the Atlantic. It's going to be really quiet, which is comparing to the other years that we had, like the past 4 years. This year is pretty quiet till now. Just three named system, all of them being tropical storm, obviously. And then, obviously, in the Eastern Pacific, not much can be said about as well. There's an area of disturbance, I think, but still got 30% chance in the next 7 days, which isn't awfully high by any stance. And we will continue to monitor the tropics in the next couple of days. So, just looking at the Western Pacific here, you can see it's pretty rare to have three systems that is pretty close to each other, really. You know, if you look on the satellite, the Western Pacific is pretty big, but these three systems decide to all be in the same area. Comey next to the Philippines, Francisco next to the Ryukyu Island, and Kurosa next to the Northern Mariana. You know, still quite distant, obviously, if you use a human comparison between the system. But in terms of tropical cyclones, it's pretty rare to see three systems that close to each other in one case. Here's the Atlantic disturbance, just brings some rain showers to the southern coast of the Gulf Coast states. Not really anything crazy. And we will continue to monitor the system. Hopefully you can drop a like if you're watching. Also, you can follow us on X and YouTube to have more info on the tropics in the next coming months, really, where the tropics going to be active. Look at this infrared sunlight. I think the eye is beginning to come out. Let's just stop the scene switcher. I think the eye is going to come. Look at that in the middle. I think an eye is obviously been developing for the past 24 hours. But now it is really attempting to form an eye here, and if it does do that, we could really up its intensity estimation again. But you know, it's going to have to wait for that because on the visible satellite, it's not that clear at the moment. If we go back there, here's look at that. Still not visible. And then let's go back to the satellite imagery. You can see still making its way to Luzon. It's going to have a bit more northerly track now because, he has been like that in the past few hours. It's probably just going to miss out on this tip, which is the Pagasinan, northern tip of Pagasinan, probably going to miss out that. But, the strongest, portion of convection is going to start moving in very soon. And that's pretty bad. And we will continue to monitor this system. Welcome to Weatherghost. I'm Jason, and we're continuing to monitor Typhoon Kome, who is approaching Philippines as a Category 1 typhoon. A possible landfall could occur in the next couple of hours. Please remember to subscribe and like and share this live stream. If you have any friends around the Philippines, well, let's remind them to be cautious around this system. And here is It's a brief update. It's currently located at 16.1 degrees north, 119.5 degrees east, 80 miles per hour as our estimation, and around 974 millibars. Moving northeast at 6 kilometers per hour, approaching Luzon, obviously. On the other hand, we also have Tropical Storm Francisco, 45 miles per hour, 987 millibars. Moving northwest at 22 kilometers per hour, located at 25.0 degrees north, 128.0 degrees east. Tropical Depression Karosa currently has winds of 35 miles per hour, a minimum pressure of 1003 millibars, moving north at 24 kilometers per hour, 15.2 degrees north, 143.5 degrees east. Look at this wind radius from Typhoon Kome right now. Hurricane force wind beginning to move into the west northern tip of Pangasinan region of Philippines. And here's the location right now, just very close to that land. It could miss out that tip where the Pangasinan region is standing out, but after that, it could very possibly make landfall probably in the Los Costa region, if I remember it right. And is what the European model expecting. Not much can be said about it. Expecting to make landfall, then it will weaken quickly, and eventually it will dissipate next to the ocean around Taiwan. And if we look at a bigger range forecast, bigger area forecast, this is GFS. Let's go back a bit. They're expecting Kome to make landfall, and then it will move into the Western Pacific, possibly retaining tropical storm intensity. Look at that Fujiwara effect with Francisco, which could make them both weaken because of, Fujiwara effect sometimes does make two systems weaken if they're too close together, especially if they are like pretty much the same intensity. And then after they disappear, look at Kurosa on the eastern side. Going to be around the typhoon status, moving next to the Ogasawara region, and then it will probably take a sharp turn to the. It would probably take a sharp turn towards the eastern side, and then it will gradually dissipate and turn extratropical. And look at that, another system going to develop after Kurosa. So that's currently definitely worth monitoring, but it's a bit far away from now. We have to look at Kome. And here's the tropical storm force wind probability. You can see just how high chances are around the central western coast of Luzon, and the strike probability. I think the track's pretty much going to go like this, and then this area is going to take probably the biggest hits out of the bunch, and it is probably pretty much, the doubts are pretty much gone now because it's very close to landfall, and there isn't really any elements to really change its trajectory now. So it's pretty much decided that will make landfall in the western part of Luzon. As a low to mid-range typhoon, probably a lower range really. Hasn't really got that much space to intensify, and if it stalls for too long, the sea surface temperature will cool down because of the winds and the rainfall, and then it will weaken the system. So really, at the moment, we're expecting a landfall probably with winds around 80 miles per hour, 85 miles per hour max, and nothing much crazy is expected. And here's the Pangasinan warning. As you can see, signal number 4 issued for the northern tip of Pangasinan. western coast of La Union and southwestern of Los Sur. And then signal number 3 stretches a bit more far around that region, and then signal number 2 stretching towards the northern tip of Luzon, including regions like Isabela and probably the Cagayan Islands, really. And then signal number 1 stretches towards the southeastern side of the Luzon Island, Luzon region. I'm sorry. And then the rest of the Philippines, no signal affected. So this system is mainly affecting the Luzon region. Visayas and the southern part of the Philippines isn't really affected, and that's pretty much sensible because the system is small and is going to make landfall in western Luzon pretty soon. So the effects would begin to decrease after it makes landfall because it's expected to weaken pretty fast due to high mountainous terrain in the Luzon region. But the worst condition could be expected in the next couple of hours. Continuing to monitor the storm, and this live we goes hopefully until it makes landfall, so we can have like a wrap up. Mhm.